It's a little chilly outside. We're talking about wind chills right now in the Northeast, putting us in single digits right now. And sometimes, listen, the group Outcast once said you can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather. And so how can you approach adversity? Things aren't always going to go the way that you want them to go. You got to have good leadership in place with whatever you're doing. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today, discussing the pressures of leadership on the Just Start the Conversation podcast. It's brought to you by St. Luke's Penn Foundation. I'm joined, as always, by the wonderful Amie, Alanson, Dundon, who just reminded me, as a matter of fact, that we are celebrating episode 50 today. Congratulations to you, my friend.
Thank you. Congratulations to you. It's been a fun ride.
It has been and has been. So very much looking forward to our episode today as well. You've got some great guests next to you. I'm going to go ahead and introduce those gentlemen. Bill Moyer, who is the West Region President, and Wayne Mugrauer, who is St. Luke's Penn Foundation President. Gentlemen, thank you to you both for helping us put this podcast on for sure. Very excited to have you both joining us today. Welcome aboard to episode 50.
Great to be here.
Thank you. Our pleasure.
Amazing. So, Amie, first, I want to talk about this podcast has kind of been a little engine that could for us, right? As we've been rolling along through this thing and getting to episode 50. The guys to the side of you there, can you just tell me a little bit about Bill, a little bit about Wayne, and just a little bit of how they've impacted this show as it is?
Yeah, I'm lucky to be sitting here with two of our presidents, and they certainly have. One of the great things about working for an organization like St. Luke's is that we have the support of senior leadership, Bill, Wayne, to do things like a podcast, right? Or to take other ideas that we may have and go to them and say, okay, here's why I think this is a good idea. Here's how this would be good for our service line, for the network. What do you think? And they listen and they entertain the ideas and let you work things out. So they've been instrumental in allowing us to continue to do this podcast and other endeavors like this that maybe are a little bit outside the box. Wayne, St. Luke's and Penn Foundation merged several years ago, and we very happily inherited Wayne Mugrauer, who's just been a fantastic president for our mental health service line, and Bill's been super supportive as our lead guy. So they've been great, and they lead with integrity, and they both are inspiring to me.
That's amazing. Well, gentlemen, thank you for being here today once again. Bill, I'm going to go ahead and start with you as we talk about the pressures of leadership. What has been the most unexpected challenge of being in a leadership role? Amie was just talking about how Penn Foundation comes in with you guys and just trying to get to, I've got to imagine, trying to get a couple of teams and a couple of people together to get on the same page is a big part of that. So what's an unexpected challenge of being in a leadership role?
Every day is going to be different. And, I used to tell myself that, and people used to tell me, don't worry, things are going to get easier, things are going to get easier. But it really doesn't. You just get faced with different challenges every day. And, I've learned that, you have to surround yourself with great people and have a great team. You got to trust your team and empower your team. And with that, you can get through anything. And, I look at my role as trying to do the blocking and tackling. So my team, like Amie and others, could do their job and do it really well. And that's one of the things that helps me get through my day. Again, I don't think about it's going to be an easier day. What challenges are going to face me this day? And, we always get through it. And I think, a lot of times when people will come to me and concerns about different challenges, especially like during COVID, that was, I'd say, one of the most challenging times for me and my team. And, through that, you had to lead by example. You had to, trust your team, but also reassure them that, hey, we've gotten through many challenges before. We always, move forward. St. Luke's is a great organization. And no matter what we've been faced with, we've been able to come through our challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Wayne, I kind of want to piggyback on what Bill was talking about there. He mentioned the blocking and tackling. And Bill, I like that you said that because that kind of means like you're not the one scoring the touchdowns, right? You're the ones that are kind of at the line of scrimmage doing the important things to make sure those bigger things can happen. Wayne, as we talk about that, let's celebrate a touchdown here. Why not, right? What's been the most rewarding aspect of being in a leadership role for you as you set those blocks, as you make those tackles, you let those big plays happen around you?
Oh, that's a very easy answer, Crocker. what's always been most important to me has been the success of my team. The opportunity to see people grow, to see people just succeed, and to find, their own core, their own strength, and to really evolve and develop into incredible leaders. It's really been meaningful to me to be a small part of that.
Amie, I want to come to you because one of the things that I think that I want to separate here in leadership a little bit is you can be a leader in kind of any team environment that you're in your life. It's another thing when you've kind of got a business on the line, right? When you've got lights to keep on, you've got people to take care of. I want to talk about that a little bit, just kind of piggybacking off of Bill and Wayne there a little bit. Let's talk about leadership in terms of, just you could be the captain of your high school team and be a leader. And that's the one thing you've got to focus on. For people that are in Bill and Wayne's position, there is also a business that needs to be financially stable and people to be taken care of. I just want to talk to you about in your role, because you probably talk to a lot of people who have some pretty big things in the air that they're trying to juggle and make sure that everybody can be okay. So just that idea of leadership on maybe a little bit of a smaller scale and leadership on a bigger scale in a situation like a business you're trying to keep in profit.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities, right? So whether you're the captain of your softball team or whether you're the president of a large health network, leadership, in my estimation, good leaders lead from behind, okay? And when, as Bill just said, and it doesn't matter if you're the lead chef in a restaurant, heading a big financial company, leading your youth soccer team, you have to know how to grow others and grow leaders, right? And if you're doing that, and you're surrounding yourself with the right people, it works out, right? So it's about, it doesn't matter if you're, whatever your goal is, there's no leader that's less important than another. There's no role that's less important than another. And everyone is a leader, right? I mean, Bill and Wayne are, are leaders at the highest level, but every single one of us does something during our day that requires us to lead and to take a breath and to think about what we're doing and to say, is this for me to tackle, or is this for my team to tackle, or is this, how do you delegate? And to your point, Crockett, when you have a lot of money on the line and you have people's lives and people's jobs, and for us, we have employees' lives and their families' livelihood on the line, but we also have our patients' lives on the line. So there's a lot at stake. So it can be really stressful. And that's why you need to have a good team in front of you as you lead from behind and make the blocks and tackles.
I kind of want to come to you both here, Bill and Wayne, with this one. So whichever one of you wants to jump in first, feel free. Can we talk a little bit about the adversity that can come over a team with that? You two are in leadership positions. And as much as we would like to think that the boat's not going to rock from time to time, sometimes the boat rocks a little bit, and sometimes it feels like you're in the middle of a storm. For two of you in a leadership role, your collaboration, the way the two of you work together to lead a team over there, just your approach to adversity, how often maybe you two lean into each other when it comes to those things, and just leadership in general when it comes to, hey, this is what we've got in front of us. This is the reality of the situation. How can we kind of approach it from here?
Go ahead, Wayne.
Well, I think it begins, Crocker, with shared values and trust. Bill talked about trust. And, I'd like to just relay a story. As I was growing up, my father was a World War II combat vet. And he shared a lot of things with me when I was young that I didn't really understand. One of the things that he always talked to me about was being an officer and a gentleman and the importance of that. And at 7 or 8 years old, when he started talking to me about that, I really didn't understand what that meant. But I began to understand as time went by that really what he was talking about was being an officer and a gentleman meant putting your team first and taking care of your people. He used to have another axiom about officers eat last. And I thought, what does leadership have to do with eating last? But I began to understand that was really a metaphor for life and for his values and for putting other people first. So we're in a very serious business. Healthcare, is a very, very serious thing. It's very important. We always, strive to put our patients first. But in order to put our patients first, we have to take care of our staff. It really comes down to, our team that's there, with a patient at bedside, in some of the most difficult and traumatic moments, doing their absolute level best. So in order for them to do that, it's our job to support them and hopefully have them prepared for those most difficult moments.
And I would just kind of build on what Amie and Wayne said. Amie talked about titles, and I tell my team that my role and my title is the least important one, because if I don't come to work today, things are still going to move smoothly, and the hospital is going to run great, and we're going to provide great care. But every other role is so important, and you need to stress that. And even from the person who's cleaning the floors and cleaning the rooms to serving the food, there's such a great backbone of hospital services that support the clinicians, and those are the jobs that are really important. And we need to make sure that everybody, all the different support areas that support the organization feel valued, and that really drives our team and drives our culture, as well as a culture that surrounds patients, putting our patients first. And when you talk about adversity, the bottom line is always, well, what's best for our patient, and we try to come up with those solutions. And the three of us, at times we pick up the phone and call each other or talk to each other when we're facing different things, and get each other's perspectives on it. And I think too, when we're facing these challenging situations, it's good to listen to your team, get other perspectives on it, and reflect on that, and come together as a group, putting the patient at the center of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
Amie, one of the things that I love about doing this show is we always find a way to kind of come back to common themes that we've had on previous episodes. And Wayne mentioned the word trust, and we've talked about that word quite a bit on this podcast. I think about our conversation with Ben Yobst and talking about the trust that for a lot of our veterans and first responders needed to maybe talk to a fellow veteran or first responder to be the first foot in the door for when they're trying to work on their mental health. I want to talk about trust because we haven't really had the chance to talk about it in this kind of way, in a little bit of a different way. The trust that is needed on that leadership level. And not only that, but the trust of the team below that leadership staff to feel like, hey, we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, trust is earned, right? So trust takes a long time to build and a second to lose, right? And that's what I tell my team. It takes a very long time for my fellow leaders to trust me, for me to trust them, and then for all of the people that work for us to trust us to make decisions on behalf of them. And again, I'm going to lean back to my mental health stuff. And I'm going to say, I can't expect others to trust me if I don't trust myself. So I think all of us, and I know, our senior leadership at St. Luke's, they have to look in the mirror and they have to say, have I done everything I needed to do today so that I can trust myself? Have I earned my own trust and respect? Because if I'm not doing that for myself, I can't expect that from other people. Luckily for me and for us, we work for a fantastic company that gives us a lot of opportunity to build trust with each other and have open dialogue with each other. And again, it's easy. I guess it's easier. I've been doing this 30 years, so I guess it's easier for me to understand how that works. But for newer folks, it's scary to walk in and say, I don't trust these people. I don't know how to build trust. And so there really does have to be, first it starts with me. For Wayne, it starts with him. For Bill, it starts with him. And I have to be able to trust myself and be confident, right? And even when I don't feel confident, I think that's another part of being a good leader, is taking a deep breath and knowing that I've put the right people around me in place so that we're going to be fine. Even if I'm not sure in this moment, we're going to be fine because we're doing this together. So trust is earned, and then you have to keep it, and that starts with yourself, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And as we're on episode 50 of a mental health podcast, one of the words that you use there, Amie, is vulnerable. And I think, especially when you're talking about, listen, for a person in your position, Amie, vulnerability is where a lot of things start for you. When it comes to a patient who is finally willing to say whatever it is that they're dealing with mentally, that they're ready to have that conversation, vulnerability is a huge pillar that needs to get knocked down in order to start those conversations. Fellas, I want to come to you on this. Your role in leadership and vulnerability in the spots that you're in. Bill, I'll go ahead and start with you. Being vulnerable to your team and to the people around you and your fellow leadership members, just that role, that word, it's such a big part of this podcast and the conversations about mental health. Vulnerability for you in the position that you're in, how would you say you would define vulnerability in your role?
Well, we're not perfect. None of us are perfect, and we don't always get it right. And a lot of times we may initiate something and maybe it doesn't go very well. You have to own that, and you have to, be honest with your team and say, hey, I made a decision. It wasn't the best. We're going to regroup and go in a different direction. And I think when, things don't go right, I think that you have to be honest with everybody and have those heart-to-heart discussions. And let them know how you feel about it too, because I think at the end of the day, being vulnerable gets you closer in building those relationships. Because what you don't want is, you don't want people to say, okay, well, here's somebody in administration, and I don't even like that word, administration. I want people to get to know me and understand that I'm a person just like you. I have the same challenges, at home sometimes, or in my personal life, but I'm a person just like you. I just have a different job to do.
Wayne, I'm going to come to you on that one as well there. Just that idea of vulnerability. Bill mentioned things aren't always going to go exactly how you think that they're going to go. And maybe that was a decision that came from your team, your leadership, your group. I'm going to come to you and just the idea of vulnerability in a leadership role.
I think Amie really addressed it, Crocker. I think it's really trying to find the sweet spot of confidence, but no arrogance, and authenticity, and really having trust with your team and your team having trust with you, so that together you can create something that you couldn't do independently, you couldn't provide independently. And that does take time. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes investment, and a willingness to be, to your point, vulnerable, and to be honest and open in moments that, firefighters aren't born running into burning buildings. It takes a skill set and the development of trust and team and the importance of the work and some shared values that get to the point where people step forward and act as, I'll use the word, servant leaders. And they do that together. They build a certain rhythm and a cadence together as a team that takes time. So for me, it's been a privilege at St. Luke's, certainly, and over the course of my career, to be part of some of those remarkable teams.
Amie, I want to, you're kind of in a fascinating position with this conversation here, because there's a good chance that you are talking to people that are in very similar positions to the gentleman who are next to you today, in situations of maybe a place of high responsibility, big stakes. You talk about, to Bill's point, you might have a lot going on at home just to begin with. Your nuts and bolts foundation, there might just be some things going on at home that are tough. Add into that being in a leadership role in a hospital network, I'm sure has to be carrying a lot of weight to it. But for anybody that's in that position, just can we talk a little bit about that? Just the weight of, it's one thing in your house. We all carry it with us, whether it's our job, whatever it might be. But certainly in a leadership position, when there might be a lot of people counting on you and your decisions and what might happen, just a little bit of the weight when those stakes are so high in that position.
Yeah, The stress is real when you're in a higher, any leadership position. But, and I'm going to be honest with you, the day doesn't end at 5 o'clock especially for folks that are in leadership positions in hospital and health networks, right? Because we're 24/7. So you're might be walking out the door at 5 or 6 o'clock at night, but you're a leader 24/7. So you're walking into your house with quite possibly, family members that are going through something really stressful and need your attention, and maybe financial issues within your own household, or a substance use concern, or kids that are having trouble focusing and not doing their homework, and Christmas time and New Year's, and the busyness of getting everything done for a family that you want to fit in. So it's heavy, for sure. If you think about leaders everywhere, I mean, we've been able to talk to some professional athletes, you and I, Crockett, and talked a little bit about the pressures that are on them. And we think about pressures of school teachers and school superintendents and our veterans and our first responders. And you are walking home to a separate life, but you're not taking your other hat off. So there has to be a balance. You have to find something for yourself that helps you negotiate your own stress. And it's going to look different for everybody. But if you don't find a way to decompress, and some days are a lot harder than others, honestly. I mean, there are some days, I mean, I'll speak for myself. There are some days in my leadership role that I'm talking to people, answering questions, answering emails, writing reports till 9, 10 o'clock at night. I haven't addressed what's going on in my own house. And then there are days there's not going to be a balance. So you've got to figure out on the other days how to make it work. It can get really heavy. And if you already maybe have an anxiety disorder or a mild depression, if you're not taking care of yourself, it can sneak up on you fast.
Wayne, I want to come to you. A word that Amie used a couple of times there is balance. I feel like for somebody in your position, as you're working on a team, you're hoping that all hands that are on the deck are working in the same way, the same pace to get you to where you're going. And the reality is that, to Amie's point, that sometimes maybe there's some things going on outside of work that may be contributing to an individual's performance or a group's performance, or maybe there's a little bit of tension inside of one of these subgroups that are a part of a team. I want to talk a little bit about the difference between empathy and accountability here a little bit, because while, listen, again, to Amie's point, there could be a lot of things that we all have going on in our individual lives. You are still a part of a team that is trying to push in one direction, and that maybe perhaps is affecting a little bit of your performance as a part of that team. So for somebody in your role, the balance there between understanding and knowing kind of a little bit of what a person's situation is, but also holding them accountable if maybe they could be doing something different when it comes to their performance.
Well, I think there's a few questions there, Crocker. I think the concept of balance, in our personal lives and professional lives, I will tell you honestly that it's something that I've always struggled with. I've struggled to make that work. And initially, Amie asked me to be on this podcast this morning, and I said no, because I really didn't think I was very expert at this, and I didn't think I had much to offer. The challenge of that is real for, I think, all of us, and learning how to find that sweet spot, find that balance that allows us to be resilient and function at a high level consistently. It's important, and it's difficult. I think the second piece of your question really has to do with, accountability and empathy. And I think it's a balance, again, of both. I think if you're working with the team, you're sensitive to that team's needs, and there's give and take in that team. And the issues that Amie Alanson Dundon deals with every day, they're not typically momentary. They're issues that go on for days and weeks and months. And in those days and weeks and months, we all experience different challenges. So I think it's the kindness of knowing how good Amie Alanson Dundon is, but recognizing the fact that we, for different reasons, sometimes have off days. And in those moments, we support each other and we compensate for each other. But we always hold each other accountable. And that's part of the relationship.
That was a really great answer there, Wayne. You're doing a great job, by the way. I know you weren't ready to maybe jump on this thing, but you're doing a fantastic job, as are the rest of you, for sure. Bill, I want to come over to you. We alluded to, we had mentioned COVID a little bit earlier, and obviously that's an extreme set of circumstances. But to Wayne's point, for those things that maybe go on for days, that maybe are going on for weeks, that maybe are going on for months, I want to talk about strategically, maybe going through that period is a prime example of just how you can kind of help a team be resilient in uncertain times and kind of understand that people have a lot going on, and that a person in your role, that carries a lot of weight in how that is going to continue to progress going forward. So just, I guess the word there that I'm looking for is the resilience. For me, it's, I'm a very matter of fact person. This life has handed you lemons. Are you going to make lemonade? For a lot of people, it's not, I want to be in control of all the situations I can control. And sometimes those aren't the cases. And so as you have all those different personalities and different perspectives and different things going on that can make things uncertain, the role that you play in strategizing to maintain a steady ship as those things are going on.
Well, a lot there. Let me start with, I think, going back to like resilience. And when we're facing challenges, and it's important, I think, you reflect on your past accomplishments. And every day, I think, we do a lot of great work, but sometimes we're so focused on the problems that we're dealing with that you lose sight of some of the really great things that happen throughout your day. And I think it's, important to reflect on those little successes that you've had, or like little things. And I think you have to always bring that up with your team and constantly reflect on, hey, we didn't get here overnight, but over the last month, here's what we accomplished. We have our monthly leadership meetings. We talk about a lot of our accomplishments and reflect on that and celebrate our successes in that too. And things like that keep the team going. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier, you never know what's going to come your way, but we've gotten through everything. We've gotten through it as a team. And it's important that I think as leaders that we continue to reassure our team and focus on what we've accomplished in the past and the great things we're going to do in the future.
Amie, as we were coming out of that time frame was right when this podcast was starting. And I can remember you talking about some of those leadership meetings and how you would all get in a room, and whether it was leadership, the team, whatever it was, you were having a lot of those conversations in your building, which is an excellent environment to be in. Mm-hmm. For some people that maybe are working with you now, maybe they've come from an environment that has not always been so warm and open and conversational. I'm trying to think of how to ask this question, because Bill and Wayne, you both have been lovely, and I'm sure that you have a door open policy. There's probably a lot of people who have a situation in their work environment that is intimidating to try to talk to somebody in a leadership role. So, Amie, I want you to just, if you could, just touch on, because I can remember those conversations as we were first getting this podcast started about how important that environment was for you. And then maybe if you could, you don't understand everyone's environment and everywhere that they are, but that idea of maybe the intimidating leadership and how you can maybe make an approach where you are if your environment isn't so open door at a place like St. Luke's.
Yeah, leadership is intimidating, period. Right? I think even if you work for an incredible, are lucky enough to work for an incredible organization like I do, it's still intimidating to me after being at St. Luke's 28 years to walk into a room full of, my boss, his boss, and his boss. and for me to be able to walk in there and know that I've earned that spot, right? So to your point, a lot of people don't have, they don't have the warm oven bread baking environment for their leadership to grow right. So I think it's important for them to know who else they can go to, because sometimes you can't go to your direct leaders. There are some work environments where, unfortunately, that's not possible. But there's always human resources there are always other people. We've said it before on podcasts talking about first responders. Look for the helpers, right? If you're a leader and you're struggling, look for a helper. You might not find them right away in the people you directly report to, but there are other places, right? If you're struggling with employee relations and you're struggling with big personalities at work, right? You can go to your human resources, human relations team. Most companies have folks that'll help you with organizational development. We've had Maria Wood on the show, and we've talked about knowing yourself and knowing what helps you in terms of your own personality type and who do you relate to best, who do you respond to best, how does this person receive feedback well? Maybe Bill receives feedback differently than Wayne does just because of who they are. You have to get to know the people you're working with and when and how to approach them. Sometimes it's important to sit back a minute and think things through and organize things before you go to a leader, rather than sit down without an agenda. You have to really thoughtfully think out how you're going to approach somebody if there's something you really want to talk with them about. But there are other people. If you're struggling at work, again, I'm going to go back to find a therapist. It's what I come to a lot, right? If you're really struggling with how to make ends meet at work for yourself and there's no one you can go to, a therapist is a really good place to start to unpack why you're having trouble, either with assertiveness or with fear or with not trusting yourself or doubting those that you report to. Find somebody to talk that out with. Oftentimes it's just a matter of readjusting your thinking. Sometimes we're thinking things through that maybe aren't very rational. And until I say them out loud to somebody else in terms of how I'm going to go about it, it doesn't make sense. So if you're struggling and you can't talk to somebody at work, there are helping professionals that can help you talk through some of that anxiety and stress.
So Crocker, can I add something to that? I completely agree with that. And therapy's been kind to me and my family. So I, completely support, as you would expect me to, what Amie just said. But the other possibility here that's been kind to me over the course of my career have been the better angels of my life that I think about as mentors. To find a mentor, to find someone or someones, in your life who perhaps have had the kind of challenges and experiences that you've had or you're having, who have some life experience that you may not have, that can be incredibly helpful to you in challenging moments, just to offer you some observational perspective.
One of the things that I've enjoyed in talking to the three of you today, obviously you're all working under the same umbrella, but a couple of different names came up. Amie, you just mentioned Maria Wood, and when those names have come up, whoever has not been talking has kind of just been smiling and nodding, as in that's a good player to have on your team. I think that goes to show the kind of team that you have there at St. Luke's. So to wrap this one up, I'm going to go from Bill to Wayne and Amie. I'll let you close this one out. The building a team, if there's one thing that you need at that base level, that infrastructure, the bottom of the pyramid to help build this thing up to the top, if there's one kind of, whether it's personality trait, whether it's whatever it might be, whatever comes to mind for you, Bill, I'm going to go ahead and start with you. You've got such a great team there. You're building a team. You're going someplace new. You're starting from scratch. That baseline thing that you think you need to start a team is what?
For me, I look at diversity on my team from the perspective of I want people on my team that are the opposite of me. I don't want and I want people on my team that are going to challenge me, not just say yes because I thought it was a good idea. I think our success is based on people pushing back appropriately and saying, hey, did you think about this? And surrounding yourself with people that are specialized in different areas. Someone may be a little bit more dynamic. Someone may be a little bit more extroverted. Someone may have a stronger financial side. But, always try to surround yourself with people who can do things better than you. And collectively, you come together as a great team.
Wayne, how about you?
Well, I think that says it very well. One of the people that I've always looked to in my life, I don't know this person, but I've read all of his books, is a man named Fred Lee. And he talked about, he actually wrote books about if Disney ran your hospital. He talked about, the patient experience and shared some really moving examples of the care that his wife received as she was dying. And he talked about the importance of hiring competence, but inspiring compassion. And I think in healthcare, the price of admission is competence. Everyone expects us to be competent all the time, which is no small task. But I think beyond that, the bigger challenge is to be compassionate.
Well, Amie, good luck following that one.
What do you want me to say to that? I mean, for me, the word is unity, I think. And you don't get unity without what Bill and Wayne just talked about, right? Diversity and compassion builds unity. And that's the key to a successful team. I think it's the key to leadership. I think for me, it's producing and growing leaders and not followers. I want a team of people that can lead in my absence. I want a team of people that if I'm out of commission for a day, a week, that they've got it because they're really, really good. I want people that know how to do that. I want people that are better at, it's not hard to be better than me at IT stuff, but I want people that can do IT stuff. I want people that can okay, show me again how to read that financial piece, right? Because I'm a clinical therapist. Math is not my forte. Everybody knows that, but to their point, everybody's strengths are important, and all of those strengths together make us a unified, competent team.
We kind of started, Bill, you mentioned blocking and tackling with our first question here. And then we kind of leave, Amie, with you on the thought of kind of, you hear it all the time in sports, that next person up mentality. Adversity is going to happen, whether it's injuries, whether it's discipline, whatever it might be on a sports field. It's the next person up that you hope can help make your team be successful. And it certainly sounds like you all do a very good job with that over at St. Luke's. So a credit to each of you. This was an excellent conversation. I hope a lot of people took a lot out of this conversation because I thought it was informative. And certainly, Wayne, you can come back on anytime. Bill, you can come back on anytime. Don't turn us down, either one of you, because this was really great. Amie, I'm certainly hoping you'll be back every single time from here. Yeah,
I'll see you again.
Well, to each of you, Bill Moyer, who is the West Region President, and Wayne Mugrauer, who is St. Luke's Penn Foundation's President, thank you both for your time today. I certainly do appreciate it. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amie, as always, another great conversation. We always come back to these key themes of trust and vulnerability, and it's good to hear that under your own roof in the rooms that you work in. You're getting a lot of that there with St. Luke's Penn Foundation. So thank you as always, my friend, and congratulations on 50. It's been excellent.
Thank you. You too.
It is the Just Start the Conversation podcast. It is brought to you by St. Luke's Penn Foundation. You can find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and of course at pennfoundation.org. My name is Crockett. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 50. We're halfway to 100. Episode 50 of the Just Start the Conversation podcast.